Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrator Perciasepe here. I want to thank you first. I know that one of the things I'm working on is the proposed rule that is out there with regards to wood burning heaters. I've offered a bill to stop the nonsense of what you're trying to do, and I understand that there is some discussions going on between you and industry folks, which I'm very thankful for and hope that proceeds. I think this is, I understand the need for conformity across the spectrum of this, but to go down the direction that we were going down there is pretty problematic for me. So I thank you for the willingness to work with industry. With regards to the other issues before us today, it is stunning to me when you make the statement, sir, that you didn't see the effect on small business from trying to define a word in the law. To redefine or clarify is going to have dramatic impact. When you say, if you just define the word customer, you redefine that, suddenly you have from a very small group of people to a large group of people. To take the word navigable out of this is unbelievable to me. And to not then go through the process of checking out and doing the due diligence and the small business report and analysis before this is either extremely naive and incompetent, or it's arrogance in its highest to be able to flaunt your authority by ignoring the laws, the rules, the process, the procedure. This is unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable, especially whenever you look at the fact that within this law there is also the word hydrologically connected, which means that all the waters, regardless of whether they're above ground, below ground, wherever they're hydrologically connected, in a rain situation, it connects everything. This is extremely important, extremely important. I can't stress it enough, especially for rural parts of our country. And I offer you an opportunity to discuss it.
Oh, well, thank you for that question. And those are really those you're getting at the crux of the issue under the Clean Water Act, and we have to look at the body of everything that's been going on, and not just old rulemakings of the Corps of Engineers and EPA, but also the Supreme Court rulings and what they've been telling us to do. And they have consistently been clear that it is not just navigable in the traditional sense, but particularly when you're dealing with clean water, the stuff that flows into the navigable, if it's polluted, it will pollute the navigable. And so, everybody from Justice Scalia to Justice Kennedy have made it clear that it's more than just the navigable. It could be seasonal. I think that's a quote from Justice Scalia. Justice Kennedy uses the words significant nexus. And to go back to your question, and I think this, Mr. Chairman, may get at some of yours as well, significant nexus is a new thing that the Supreme Court gave us. So we're trying to find out how the purpose of the executive branch putting out a proposed regulation is trying to, and I have dicta here from Chief Justice Roberts telling us to do these regulations. So look, just one more second, I promise. So nexus is definitely hydrology, as you just pointed out. And what is the connection? Well, you could make the argument, as the Chairman made, that rain falling is connected somehow. And so one of our jobs in this rulemaking, and one of the things we're most interested in trying to get back more input on, is how do we define significant? Everything might be connected, but it's not all significant. So back in the old regulation, it said if it had any impact, probable or any impact on downstream interstate commerce, what we're trying to use is the science of hydrology and say, well, it has to have certain characteristics that are identifiable by a hydrologist, that there's enough flow in that watercourse that it's frequent enough and enough that it creates these characteristics on the landscape. Otherwise, it's not significant. So we've tried to do that in this rule.
You just made my point, though, sir. Of why didn't you go through the rulemaking process that you're required to? Because you just admitted it's a tremendously impactful situation you're discussing here. And you don't think it's not going to impact small businesses when you just said it's huge? You've got the Supreme Court involved in trying to define things and sort of direct you in some of your activities. and it's not worthy of going through the process that you're required to do, to go through and figure out the impact on small businesses?
Well,
That's what the chairman's talking about, and what this hearing's all about today.
And we are working with small businesses and with the Small Business Administration.
Yeah, but you just talked about how important it was and how big a problem it is, and yet now we didn't go back and do what you're supposed to do, which is determine the impacts based on the effects of it. I'd see my time's over, but I'm stunning, absolutely stunning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions, sir. With regards to power plant oversight, I know that apparently, correct me if I'm wrong here, that it appears that the agency, when they figure the costs of the rules and regulations in power plant rules, that they consider it on a global scale. Is that correct? The cost benefit on a global scale.
Well, I'm not exactly sure of the term there, but when we look at,
do you take other factors besides what would be we could consider domestic, things that would affect only the United States? Do you take into effect whatever cost savings or other costs otherwise may be affecting other areas of the world, our neighbors to the north, south, east, west?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm going to say generally no. But there have been instances where obviously we've cooperated with other governments like Canada on acid rain, where we've done joint work together. But I would generally say we were looking at the impact in the United States.
Well, what I've been told is that this you do take into account calculating benefits on a global scale for coal referenced rules, which have a dramatic impact on coal-fired electrical generation plants, of which I've got a couple in my district. In fact, one closed up as a result partially of the rules that have come down. And I'm just kind of curious why you included the costs of savings or other benefits of other countries over what should be, I would think, only the costs benefits that would be for us domestically.
Yeah, I really apologize. I should know what you're asking, but I don't want to guess. So if it's okay with the committee and the chair, I would like to be able
we can
research that and provide the answer.
Other than that, I'm just one other concern. When you go down the road with these different rules and regulations that you're looking at, basically the President seems to be trying to implement carbon tax rules around the Congress by implementing some of the rules that through your agency. I think it's very, very concerning. I think again, when you do this, you need to go through the RFA process to find the effect on small business. And it's very concerning to me that we're even going down this road when you look at what Australia just did. Australia implemented the carbon tax 2 years ago and found it increased costs significantly, over 15%, and affected thousands and thousands of jobs, and they now have withdrawn that. I think we need to be very careful down the road that we're going down, and we need to make sure we continue to adhere to the process and the procedures that are in place, which today we're talking about the Regulatory Flexibility Act. It's a very, very important tool for analysis, and not only for you, but for us, to make sure that the rules that you're putting in place are something that we could go along with, that we believe our constituents, our small businesses are having to live under, and would be beneficial to them rather than costing them. Again, when you see what's coming out of other countries with regards to the kind of power plant rule and regulation that is being proposed, and they're backing off, it should give us pause. And for certain, to be able to cause, I would think, be a red flag to make sure you adhere to the process and procedures. And with that, if you want to respond, fine, sir.
Sure. Just a couple of quick comments. First of all, I want to be really clear to the committee. We we believe that we should be looking at the impacts of all different segments, whether it's small business or large business. I just want to be really clear about that. And somebody at EPA did make the statement earlier that it's not in our job description, but it was not Lisa Jackson, I can assure you that. It was not. It was a lower-level EPA employee who made a mistake. That's all I want to say, made a mistake. Now, on the—
To follow up on that, sir, before you move on to your next comment, that's why it's important that you do the RFA, because that affects the economic concerns that we have. And when you have a comment like that, that gives us pause. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So there are two things where I want to make it clear that we're not trying to implement a carbon tax or anything like that here. The Clean Air Act gives us very specific authority to look at sectors. And so in the last term, we did a light-duty vehicle regulation to reduce the greenhouse gases from light-duty vehicles. We worked with the Department of Transportation on that to make sure it aligned so that the automobile manufacturers only had one thing to implement between the CAFE and the carbon rules. We reached consensus with the automobile manufacturers. We had a process with the small automobile manufacturers. We exempted them from the rule completely. And then they came back to us and said, you know, we want to be able to opt in if we're making really efficient cars because we want to sell our credits to the other automobile manufacturers. And so we actually have an opt-in for small businesses in that rule. So I don't want you to think we don't really do think about this. And that's the two big so-called carbon rules that EPA is working on. One was the automobiles, which is in the process of being implemented now and has those kinds of provisions I just mentioned. And the other one, which is the power plants, which we haven't implemented yet, which is going to be something we're going to have to work out with states where we are going to be continually looking for ways that we can incorporate ideas and opportunities like that to be able to deal with small businesses. And we hope that many small businesses will capitalize on some of the business opportunities as well. But we do look at this. I want you to believe that and not trust us.
Thank you for your comments. I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.